Hey guys, it's Dr. Mona, and today I'm doing another food combining video because you guys loved the last one so much. I really wanted to do a part two. You know, I looked at all your feedback, and even though you really liked it, there were some things you were confused on, which is totally understandable because it is a little bit tricky. So today I just want to go into part two. You know, the first one was the basics, and this one's going to go into a little more depth. So in case you didn't see my first video for food combining, maybe I can link it below this. Basically, I just talked about really simple principles. So the concept is different foods are digested very differently in your stomach. So some foods will have your body release one kind of enzyme, some foods will have your body release a different kind of enzyme, and depending on the food, it might need an alkaline environment or it might need an acidic environment. And you know, when a positive and negative goes together, it ends up neutralizing. So if you have these different foods that are in your stomach at the same time, and you have positive and negatives and they neutralize, none of them are going to get digested. Then they just sit there and they putrefy, and this actually creates a really toxic environment. It incorporates the growth of bacteria, yeast, mold. It can increase your risk for cancer. It can make you feel really bloated and uncomfortable. So that's why we try to apply these food combining principles. So really quickly, the basics are fruit on an empty stomach. Starches and proteins never combine well together. Proteins go really well with vegetables. Vegetables go really well with everything. And starches combine well with fat. So now that we got that out of the way from part one, you guys were really confused, I think, on what foods fall under what category, which is understandable because a lot of food naturally has two different things. Like, you know, almonds or walnuts are full of fat and protein. So where does it fall when you're talking about food combining? So that's what I'm going to go over with you today. So the first thing I want to go over is just the fact that a lot of different food has both starch and protein. So when it comes to food combining, we literally just pick how they're digested in the stomach. So it doesn't mean that they don't have one or the other. It's just how they're digested. So I picked out some random things from my pantry and in my cabinets, and I'm just going to go over with you how they're combined. Let's talk about starches. Your starches are things like oats, like bread, your starchy vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash. I've got some brown rice pasta, almost all kinds of pasta, some brown rice. So these are all starches. Now, starches combine well with fats. That's the best combination. So when we're talking about fats, we're not talking about nuts and seeds. We're talking about your oils. So like coconut oil, olive oil, I've got some of that in there too. Avocado. Even though avocado is technically a fruit, it's full of fat. So when it comes to food combining, I want you to consider it a fat. So avocado, I always mix avocado and brown rice. You could have it with squash, any of those starches that we just discussed. So that's that. Fats also is actually kind of a small category. I've done a lot of research myself on this because I've even been confused like what really falls under a fat. From the research I've done, I've seen olives, olive oils, any kind of oils that you make from any vegetables, coconut oil, avocado, that's it. So when it comes to protein, obviously if you're not vegan or vegetarian, you've got all your animal protein, so chicken, fish, steak, pork, all of that. If you are vegan or vegetarian, we're talking about things like garbanzo beans, which are also referred to as chickpeas. We've got cashews, flaxseed, chia seed, almonds, walnuts, almond butter, any of your nut butters. All of this falls under protein. So you never want to combine these with starches. I will say that if you are vegan, plant-based things combine better than animal protein anyway. So even if, you know, you fall off sometimes and you don't follow these principles, if you're vegan, you're better off anyway just because your body, your gut flora is just healthier and you're able to digest things more. But if you're not vegan, one thing I'd highly recommend is never ever mix an animal protein with a starch. And this is very weird for a lot of people because this is a similar food group. For example, scrambled eggs and toast, steak and potatoes, chicken and rice. All of these things are common things that we grew up eating and we think are okay, but they're really bad for your digestion. I just want to go over one point. A lot of times people come to me and say, we've been doing this for a long time. What's the problem? Obviously our ancestors ate this way and they were fine. Well, years ago, their GI tracts were much healthier. Their gut flora was healthier because they weren't eating processed foods and refined sugars. There's so many different things that they weren't exposed to that we are, not as many hormones. So because we aren't as healthy because of all the different adaptations, we have to take it a little bit easier. So let's just go over some quick examples. A lot of vegan recipes will require something like oatmeal and almond butter, which sounds great together, but it's really not a great combo. Or for example, let's see, cashew. Cashews a lot of times are used for like cashew cream sauce, and that's a really good like creamy vegan alternative. But mixing this with pasta is really not a good idea. Now, I also want to say that I follow food combining principles 70 to 80% of the time, and that's just the honest truth. I try it whenever I can. When I'm traveling, especially to a different country, my biggest priority is eating plant-based, so if I can't food combine all the time, it's okay. But the good news is the more you do it, the healthier your gut is, and the more you can bounce back when you're not food combining well. Okay, and then I don't want to forget about our fruit over here. You probably saw this from the first one. There are some fruit exceptions, and I posted this a lot on Instagram or Snapchat. Some of you guys have asked me. So most fruit, for the most part, I mean, first of all, this goes really into depth. I'm still slowly bringing you guys into this. Most fruit, like a tangerine, you need to eat on its own. Berries, pineapples, all of that stuff. The two exceptions are bananas and acai. Now, bananas have less water content, so if you notice, you can't put a banana in a juicer. No one ever has banana juice. And acai is actually full of omegas and fat, so these two are digested slower than most fruit. Most fruit is digested so quickly that you don't want to combine it with anything. But because you have these exceptions, if you are going to make a protein smoothie, you could use a frozen banana, you could use frozen acai, but those are the only two fruits that I would recommend combining with any kind of protein. Let's do a quick example of like a protein smoothie. You could do some kind of protein powder, almond milk, a frozen banana, almond butter, you're good to go. If you're doing proteins, don't mix oats into the blender, have these on their own. If you're having oatmeal for breakfast, having some sliced bananas on it isn't the worst thing, but I would really just try to eat it alone with some cinnamon, some stevia, some coconut or almond milk. The nut milks, you know, because they're so watered down, I don't really use for food combining, so that's why I do mix like coconut milk or almond milk with oats. I think that the bottom line, even though this is just video number 2, let's see how far these go. The easiest way to think about this is to really just simplify your meals. I used to, actually even myself, I was guilty of this. I would think that if I could get as many healthy things into one bowl as possible, like I was winning. That was the best thing. So I'd put like nuts and seeds and fruit and greens, and that's actually a huge mess for your stomach. So even if you're at an organic, raw, vegan restaurant, pay attention to food combining. If you notice that you're really bloated or something after, keep your meals simple. Try to follow these simple guidelines, and I will link a little chart that I've made as a little cheat sheet for you guys under this video, so you can check that out. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what else you guys want me to film content on so I can create things that are helpful for you. You can find me on Instagram or any of my social media at Dr. Mona Vand, and I will see you next time. Bye.